and jewels would be of no use to her. I think that I will look at them. At any rate, Athena will never know. Nobody else will ever know. She opened the lid a very little, just to peep inside all at once. There was a whirring, rustling sound, and before she could shut it down again, out flew 10,000 strange creatures with death, like faces and gaunt and dreadful forms, such as nobody in all the world had ever seen. They fluttered for a little while about the room, and then flew away to find dwelling places wherever there were homes of men. They were diseases and cares for. Up to that time, mankind had not had any kind of sickness, nor felt any troubles of mind, nor worried about what the morrow might bring forth. These creatures flew into every house, and without anyone seeing them nestled down in the bosoms of men and women and children, and to put an end to all their joy. And ever since that day, they have been flitting and creeping unseen and unheard over all the land, bringing pain and sorrow and death into every household. If Pandora had not shut down the lid so quickly, things would have gone much worse, but she closed it just in time to keep the last of the evil creatures from getting out. The name of this creature was Foreboding, and although he was almost half out of the casket, Pandora pushed him back and shut the lid so tight that he could never escape. If he had gone out into the world, men would have known from childhood just what troubles were going to come to them every day of their lives, and they would never have had any joy or hope so long as they lived. And this was the way in which Jupiter sought to make mankind more miserable than they had been before Prometheus had befriended them. The next thing that Jupiter did was to punish Prometheus for stealing fire from the sun. He bade 2 of his servants, whose names were Strength and Force, to seize the bold Titan and carry him to the topmost peak of the Caucasus Mountains. Then he sent the blacksmith Vulcan to bind him with iron chains and fetter him to the rocks so that he could not move hand or foot. Vulcan did not like to do this, for he was a friend of Prometheus, and yet he did not dare to disobey. And so the great friend of men who had given them fire and lifted them out of their wretchedness and shown them how to live was chained to the mountain peak. And there he hung with the storm winds, whistling always around him, and the pitiless hail beating in his face, and fierce eagles shrieking in his ears and tearing his body with their cruel claws. Yet he bore all his sufferings without a groan, and never would he beg for mercy, or say that he was sorry for what he had done, year after year and age after age. Prometheus hung there now, and then old Helios, the driver of the sun car, would look down upon him and smile. Now and then flocks of birds would bring him messages from far-off lands. Once the ocean nymphs came and sang wonderful songs in his hearing. And oftentimes men looked up to him with pitying eyes and cried out against the tyrant who had placed him there then. Once upon a time, a white cow passed that way. A strangely beautiful cow with large, sad eyes and a face that seemed almost human. She stopped and looked up at the cold grey peak, and the giant body which was chained there. Prometheus saw her and spoke to her kindly. "I know who you are," he said. "You are Io, who was once a fair and happy maiden in distant Argos. And now, because of the tyrant Jupiter and his jealous queen, you are doomed to wander from land to land in that unhuman form. But do not lose hope. Go on to the southward and then to the west, and after many days you shall come to the great river Nile. There you shall again become a maiden, but fairer and more beautiful than before. And you shall become the wife of the king of that land, and shall give birth to a son from whom shall spring the hero who will break my chains and set me free. As for me, I bide in patience the day which not even Jupiter can hasten or delay." Farewell, poor Io would have spoken, but she could not, Her sorrowful eyes looked once more at the suffering hero on the peak, and then she turned and began her long and tiresome journey to the land of the Nile. Ages passed, and at last a great hero, whose name was Hercules, came to the land of the Caucasus, in spite of Jupiter's dread, thunderbolts, and fearful storms of snow and sleet. He climbed the rugged mountain peak. He slew the fierce eagles that had so long tormented the helpless prisoner on those craggy heights, and with a mighty blow he broke the fetters of Prometheus and set the grand old hero free. "I knew that you would come," said Prometheus 10. "Generations ago I spoke of you to Io, who was afterwards the queen of the land of the Nile. And Io said Hercules was the mother of the race from which I am sprung you.